I'll try to switch off all the other things.
It started. Hello, Coach Magazine global audience. This is our 18th 5 o'clock tea talk. Our guest today is Aleksandra Ola Potrykus-Majewska. She is people, culture, and learning focused HR lead and entrepreneur. Her happy place is on one of the Swiss lakes with her family and dog, immersed in collaborative environments where she applies customer focused thinking to human centered process design, facilitating cultural evolution. Her background blends corporate and startup dynamics, enriched with expertise in agile HR, facilitation, and coaching. Driven by a love for learning and a desire to enact change, she co-founded and actively contributes to shaping the Shake Up the Workplace future of the work ecosystem, always maintaining a growth mindset and a solid foundation in the corporate world. As a lead trainer within the Agile HR community, she delivers global Agile certification programs, aiding non-tech teams in focusing on business and employee value. Described by others as a conversation leader and relationship builder, she empowers and supports, bringing a can do attitude, creativity, and a smile to every endeavor. Her international experience, having lived and worked in Germany, UK, New Zealand, and Switzerland, provides her with a global perspective that enhances her approach to organizational development and performance. Welcome, Ola. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be here with us. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Seda, and thank you for a lovely introduction. I am very good. It's a Friday. I don't have a tea, I have water, but happy to be here and happy to exchange, share, and start the weekend with the Coach Magazine global community.
It's a very lovely weekend. I hope it will bring joy to our lives after our lovely conversation. Before we
No,
start,
no pressure, no pressure. Yes,
here I would like to remind our audience to subscribe to our channel for further webinars. It is free to subscribe. Your support is very valuable. So thanks for joining Coach Magazine Global Family. So, my first question, as an expert in an agile HR and a lead trainer within the agile HR community, how do you believe agile methodologies can help organizations adapt to the rapidly changing work landscape and foster a more engaged workforce?
lovely question for the start. Thank you, Sada. For people who maybe are new to Agile or have not dived into it or practiced it, I think the easiest way to think about Agile is it's an iterative approach where we can really slice the elephant. That's how I like to call it. In contrary to an agile approach, we have waterfall approaches, and typically those would take a larger scale project program, and you would need to plan the initiative in quite a lot of detail for the next 12 months, 6 months. And as you said, rapidly changing world, constant transformation, technology coming at the speed that we cannot keep up with, it's overwhelming. So agile comes in with this iterative approach. That's when I'm looking it back to really look at what is the biggest value that we can deliver to our end user. So this user centricity, customer centricity is the way to think in agile, and how we can really deliver value quicker, faster to our users. It doesn't mean the full project will be delivered faster. It means we will deliver value faster, and really thinking with this minimum viable product, what's the biggest needs, what's the biggest pain point for our users. This is the way to look at it, and it's very life let's say life centric as well, because we as human beings are very agile in our daily lives, right? We don't plan our lives or even sometimes our day 12 months ahead. We have to adopt, we have to react and so on. We have to be responsive. That's human nature, but somehow in the business we became quite rigid and we wanted to have everything in control. Well, that's not possible. So this is where I think agile, in a very simple terms, comes in very handy. And I had the pleasure to train, teach, coach a lot of HR teams, especially, and non-IT agile teams to bring this mindset and practice to life, and it's really exciting to see what it can do in the organization and how it can empower people.
Wow, it's a very good wrap up. Thank you so much for this good explanation.
Thank you.
So, you have a passion for transforming conversations and data into actionable insights. Can you share an example of how you successfully applied this approach to improve employee engagement or the employee experience in an organization?
To really take a step back and to think about, how we humans and how people, employees are. We are all human in the end, right? And we all want to be treated as a person, not as an employee, not as a resource. So that's the first thing that I always hold in mind. We are all humans here. We are all adults here. We can be trusted as well. And then how do we go about it? Well, let's listen. I think listening is one of the skills, and I think that's going to be very um, resonative with a lot of coaches. One of the skills we have to practice as coaches is listening. And how do we listen? We can listen with our mind, but we can also listen with our heart, and we can even listen from the future, from the emerging future. So, what's possible and hasn't been discovered yet? So, those are the things, let's say, more in theory, how I would approach it. Now, if we take it into practice, one of my favorite examples from work we've done as Shake Up the Workplace is actually we've been asked to support a population of our client that was people managers. People management support is something that I'm super passionate about, and I believe this is the group in the business that is most neglected. We often talk about leaders, we talk about talents, but actually the people managers, the ones who are responsible for other people, so we call it line managers, people managers, but you know what I mean, people who have reporting lines, they are actually responsible for 70% of the engagement of our employees, of our people in the organization. So if we don't support them, well, our engagement might suffer through that. So back
Yeah.
to my example, what we've done basically is we came in to say we need to really go not to HR, not to the leaders of the organization. We want to talk directly to their managers, managers at different levels, maybe the first time managers, maybe the experienced managers. Let's talk about different personas in the people manager population, and let's understand what are their challenges, their pain points, where do they need support. It took us probably around, I think it was more or less 2 weeks. We had over 20 interviews, and it was a conversation where you deeply you did it uh, big four consult deep to understand pain. There are three main areas for managers that are critical. Those development could again adapt the conversation we really able solution or this. That's how we. I don't know, Sada, if we have some
Yes, I think
technical
so. I didn't
challenges.
hear last words, last sentences of your conversation. It might be my
Okay.
internet. I don't know. I'm asking my colleague, but I don't know if it happened. If the audience listened, hear your voice, or is it only me?
Mm, I didn't have any signs on my side. There is some yellow. Check your. It says check your internet connection. So I wonder if it's on my side as well.
It was coming and
But I'm.
going. It was slowly, this robotic voice while you were talking.
I'm sorry
I'm sorry, it's okay.
to hear that.
It
If
happens.
not, we can always re-record
I
again. Yes.
exactly. I don't know what's going on with this agile topic, but with another
Mhm.
agile coach, we had this problem at the beginning for start, and then for ending, it didn't end. It
Okay.
continued. We couldn't stop it, and she was like, "Okay, this is agile coaching, and we need to be go with it, flow with it," you
Go with the
know.
flow. Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to my next question then.
Sure.
I'm sorry I couldn't understand what you said about the second one, but it's okay. With your background in both corporate and startup environments, what key lessons have you learned that can be applied to foster innovation and growth in both settings?
Very interesting. And lots of people are asking me about that. I have to say that stepping out of corporate world and going into entrepreneurship was very eye opening. You really gain a very different appreciation of how difficult it is actually to start a business that is successful, that can hire 5 people, 10 people, 100, 1,000, 60,000. I started my career in a very large organization, and once you enter, you just take things for granted. But yes, as an entrepreneur, I think I have a deep appreciation and respect for a company that can last for years, last all the crises that we have now, all the challenges, and can manage such a big team, right? And we sometimes in corporates also complain like, oh, hierarchies or like um, bureaucracy. Well, those are also support systems that you as an entrepreneur will not have, will have to create at some point. So I think one thing is just a deep appreciation for it, because it's not an easy thing to create your own business. And then
Yeah.
second thing, I think what's interesting, and that comes also from a lot of the agile approach, we often think about a lot of constraints, especially when you're in HR. There is legal constraints, there is policies, there is technology, and so on. But what if we thought of our world as either you think of the frame of constraints, so you understand your constraints, you cannot challenge some of them, they will exist. However, maybe a budget could be a good example. What could be possible with zero budget? What we, with our hands, brains, heart, can create that has zero, that starts with a zero budget? And that's what I love to do with my HR teams when I train them, to say, let's just explore for a couple of minutes what would be possible without any budget, and you'll be surprised how much we can innovate. So sometimes I like to challenge also the corporate worlds. They like to like just complain and finger point, but if you're an entrepreneur, how would you go about it? And can you be an intrapreneur? Can you be an entrepreneur within your organization and really challenge and think outside of the box? I think those are the things that are interesting. And then maybe the third point, I think again, this on one hand, challenging the status quo as a startup and building from scratch and innovating. How can we bring that to the corporate world? How we can act as an owner within our own field? How can I be a leader of my own field, even if I'm not a business owner, but I'm an owner of my area? How can I be that boss of my own area, even without the team? So those are the things that I think come to my mind when I think about those two worlds, that might be quite contrary, but I think there are learnings from both of them for sure.
Yes, yes, you put it so beautifully. When you have that kind of entrepreneurship, experience, you understand the constraints of running a company, big or small, doesn't matter. As you said, runs for years is a very big challenge with all this crisis happening and with
Yes.
the human factor.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, doing this challenging experience for your HR team is very valuable, I think.
It's an eye
Thanks
opener
for
for sure, and a
sharing.
nice conversation starter, because human nature again, we like to complain, but what if we twist it,
Yeah,
turn it around, and see it as an opportunity? I think that's always interesting.
exactly. So, how does your experience living and working in multiple countries influence your perspective on organizational development and performance? What unique insights does this global experience provide when approaching HR related challenges? This is my favorite question.
Mm, I like that a lot. And I've been to many countries. I still have to say I was more in the Western world. So I think I would love to at some point also experience, and I do it through my roles, but I haven't lived in an Eastern culture. I think that's something that maybe one day I'll have a chance to complete as well. But what I'm thinking again is, I will insist on the same. In the end, we are all human beings, and we want to be respected, we want to be treated as adults, we want to be trusted, and we want to feel included. I think that's once you step out of your own comfort zone, maybe your own country, maybe a country you know very well, you start to really appreciate that it's actually quite hard to be in a different environment, and how do you try to understand everything. So this inclusion and belonging are definitely topics that are close to my heart. um, and again, there is, the striking the right balance. So on one hand, if I work with international teams, I assume there will be a certain level of needs that will be the same, the human needs that I've mentioned at the start. And at the same time, I want to respect the localities. And may not be the right person to do the localization of initiatives and so on. And this is where I trust my partners. So I build networks, I build communities, I speak to different representatives. If I consult, then I ask for those different perspectives. If I'm an internal employee, then I basically engage the different perspectives from different sides of the world. um, yeah, I think those are the ways I would approach it as an HR person. And we don't have all the answers, so that's another thing. Don't put the pressure on you to be the expert in everything. Empower yourself and bring those other voices and opinions to the table. I think that's another thing on inclusion. How do we bring those different voices? And even how do we think about who in this context could be on the margin? How do we pull the marginalized people into the conversation? Who are we missing? If we are in maybe in a setup where we have operations and there is, I don't know, production, for example, are we talking to the blue collars or only to the white collars, for example? And are we talking to the white collars in our Western world, or are we talking to, the people on the other side of the world? So those are the questions we need to ask, and try to reach the marginalized as well, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this in multicultural level, similar like with empty chair metaphor. You know, Jeff Bezos
Mm,
in Amazon uses one empty chair in every meeting.
water.
So who I
Yes.
didn't hear, who is missing, what am I
Mm,
missing? So yeah, including every type of cultural benefits also benefits the company, not just the
absolutely.
humans, and also it increases the chances of getting more successful, being more successful, more diverse and more open-minded probably. Is there any
Absolutely.
particular experience that you had in your mind with a multicultural environment? You worked in a cultural
Mhm, mhm.
companies. Is there any experiences that you might have shared with us?
Maybe the one that might not have been heard by everyone. So I was giving an example of initiative touching people managers for a client. And one of the things, it was EMEA led project. And one of the key points was actually, and this EMEA region was very widely spread. So we had Europe, Western Europe, we had Russia, Israel, and we had South Africa. So even that spread, and culturally how diverse that is, and how might people management be seen by people, was very diverse. So the way we approached it, the way I approached it was, I had a list of 20 people across territories, across functions, across age groups and seniority. So this diversity had to be very much covered. So we hear from everybody. Um, in the population, and we've asked them for their key perspectives and key points. I'm sorry, my daughter is interrupting me for a second, so I'll just tell her.
It's okay.
Yes, all good. She just needed a thumbs up.
Yep, always. Okay. So you're also a co-founder of this Shake Up the Workplace. And
Yes.
as a co-founder of this company, Future of Work Ecosystem, what are some of the most significant trends or shifts you see impacting and the workplace today, and how can organizations prepare for these changes?
Hmm. I won't surprise anyone here. I think we all know it very well, and I think we've touched on some of them already quite nicely. Of course, the whole technological evolution and the AI coming into workplace is huge, and I see it with clients. I hope you can hear me now because again get yes. Okay, okay. Um, is AI becoming our colleague? Are they, side by side by us? Will it be side by side by us? Some organizations, some people, single people are already doing that. How might it empower us to be more effective is very interesting. So for sure, technological advancement is huge. The other thing that I think is very clear to me now is the whole data literacy. How do we use data to really empower us to take the right decisions? Again, nothing new here, but it's a huge, huge transformation where some of the people are resisting because maybe it means I need to learn in my new role in finance or in I don't know in operations. I That means I will need to upskill on a basic level of programming and coding because I need to know SQL, for example, to build my report. That wasn't required of me 5 years ago, but to be relevant and to really understand the new technology, maybe I need it. I'm not saying everybody needs to do it on the same level, but there are pockets of organizations that do it, and there is huge resistance because people say very often they don't have time for that. So the tech piece is definitely huge. Then of course we have the crisis and the whole geopolitical situation in the world, the climate change. There is a lot of things to be worried, and in shake up we have kind of two distinctions. One thing is keeping up with the change with the world of work, and that's the a lot is AI and tech. And then it's coping with the world. It's so overwhelming, it's so saddening to see what's happening in the world. It impacts our workplaces as well, it impacts all the human beings that are in the workplaces. So how do we cope? So this is the second element to that. And here we are very clear with Bilge and Chantel, the two other co-founders of our organization, that we need to again bring, sorry, I will repeat it again, maybe it's boring for some people, but the human at the center of the workplace is really critical. And we know, and we've seen it, that this is very often the missing element in the whole puzzle. And deep human work, not shallow on the surface, but going deep, talking about emotions, talking about responses, talking about what the change means to people, how do we bring people with us, and doing some really deep coaching work as well. Some systemic change that needs to happen at the really DNA almost level. And I won't be able to cover all the methodologies that we look into. One of them for sure is the methodology that comes from Otto Scharmer, one of the people we really admire, and the methodology of systemic change, where you really bring the human along to challenge, to really discover, to dig deeply into personal understanding. So that's what we stand for.
I remember I was one of in your webinars. Was it last year or 2 years ago? But it was so
Possibly.
enlightening. Yes, and I hope you will continue to do those. I would like to attend some of them. And
Yes.
where can people reach out to you for this kind of experiences. Now
Sure.
we can, yeah.
Great to be encouraged to do more. Indeed, we are kind of pausing a bit the webinar style. We are exploring different opportunities. One of the things we do is we decided to, and we've piloted something called New Leadership Circle, where we really bring not only us or our experts to speak, but we bring this collective community that will learn, exchange from each other. So that's one of the things I would really invite people to join. But the simplest thing is to follow us on LinkedIn. Shake Up the Workplace is the place. We have a website, shakeuptheworkplace.com. That's another thing. Very happy to connect to people also on LinkedIn. Do reach out if you need us. And do let us know if you'd like to be part of this collective circle. Why we talk about it? I found myself very often in conversations where clients and people from the network would come and say, "Oh, Ola, can you tell me how others are doing it, or how would you go about it?" And at some point, we've realized, no, it cannot only land on my plate. Let's have this conversation together. Let's co-create, and that's how we kind of decided to host those circles. We will have them face to face in Switzerland, but we are also thinking to mix two formats, so to have something online and to have something face to face. There is something beautiful about face to face connections. We kind of
Yes.
get excited about
Miss,
them after the pandemic. I
yeah.
see you're nodding very strongly. So definitely a mix of both would be the way for us to go about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to online ones.
Yes.
Unless if they are online, I can't join right now.
Yes, yes, I understand.
Okay.
And we want, also face to face creates exclusion. So I totally understand, and we want to create that inclusion as well. So for sure,
Yes, yes.
it's coming.
So my good. My last question, you mentioned a strong focus on employee engagement and fostering a sense of belonging and culture within organizations. Again, what approaches, what strategies have you found to be most effective in creating a positive and inclusive work environment?
Mm, I feel like I could just repeat myself a bit because I think we've touched on a lot of it already. Um, Treat people as adults, treat people as a person, not as a resource. Listen deeply, teach your leaders how to listen as well. I think that's the skill that we all like to be experts, and even now me, I'm standing here and talking. I would love, and we are exchanging, but it will be even deeper, even more insightful if we could really have a deep listening conversation where we could explore, challenge each other, and so on. So those are the skills that I think really create a strong sense of belonging and trust. Invest in your people managers. As I said, 70% of engagement lies in their hands, so not to be neglected. And there is a lot of movement towards that. And don't work with diversity, equity, and inclusion as a checkbox initiatives. Really think deeply what it means. There is a lot of work to do. There are still a lot of marginalized people, communities. How do you bring these different voices to the table? I think is going to be critical. And also be open to be challenged. I think many of our clients have really put a lot of emphasis on psychological safety. It is, a very critical skill. How do you go about it? There are different elements, from feedback culture, from failure culture, from really leaders opening their doors and also receiving feedback. So lots of, I could spend another hour talking just about psychological safety, but again, nothing new, but we have to get the basics right, and we are not there yet in the corporate world for sure, and in the startup world, let's be honest as well. So nail the basics and don't give up too quickly. Most of these initiatives will take years. It's a journey. It's not a tick off. It's not like one training will do it, will do magic. No, it takes years to really change culture, and don't give up. And if you feel lonely in your organization because you're the only one that talks about leadership or psychological safety, then find your community, find your gang, and they will support you. And we can be that gang for you if you want to shake up the workplace community. But I'm sure also the coach magazine could be your buddy system. So think what can empower you to really create that change.
So there is no harm to repeating ourselves in case this topic need to be repeated as we are not there yet. So
Yeah.
it was a lovely conversation, Alexandra. Thank you so much for being here with us. Is there any last words you would like to add?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the skill of coaching being elevated by you. I think it's one of the critical skills as well that we need to bring into workplaces. So thank you for spreading, this important message and topic, and thank you for having me. It was really really great.
Thank you. It was our 18th guest today with Ola, and we are so happy to be here again. We were doing it twice a month, but this year we make it only once a month. So next month we will see you again with this 5 o'clock Tea Talk webinars. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you. See you.